Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. If the Supreme Court orders pizza for lunch, does the Chief Justice have final say on the toppings? What if the House orders pizza? Will one side or another filibuster to avoid pineapples on the pizza? How many pizzas do you need for 435 people? Are we, the taxpayers, paying for this? And do you think that these people can even agree on what they want for lunch? Or will the vegans and the anti-glutens form a new pickle party and cause a ruckus? Pickles will prevail. I think that's why senators always bring bag lunches. Or so I'd like to believe. I like to picture Mark Warner eating a bologna and cheese sandwich, sipping a Capri Sun on the steps of the Capitol. I really want to believe that these are ordinary people, but they're not. And they'd never get pizza because the place will be closed before they make a decision. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. EK's working furiously on the ones and twos. It's a lot more than ones and twos these days. Shock Monkey Radio, I'm the Madman. I want to remind you to go over, check out my Twitter, DNALETSAW on Twitter. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. You can find me there. Also, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate it. And watch it over the holiday season. I'm probably going to put some more tiers in. I'm probably going to change that $3 tier to the Shocked Monkeys tier, and you can become a Shock Monkey just like me. And then I'm probably going to make an associate producer tier, maybe around $15, and then an executive producer tier at about $30. And with all the privileges and rights therein of those kinds of positions, you could have say on the show. You could have say in what I talk about. And I might change the advertising tier, and I might get rid of the whole hijack the news worth knowing thing. It's kind of dumb. Nobody's ever wanted it. Nobody's ever paid for it. You don't want to drop $100 and then do work. I don't want to write 500 words and pay you $100 for the privilege. So I get it. I'm gonna switch the Patreon around coming soon. And if you have Cash App, you can Cash App me money using the hashtag Shock Monkey Radio. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the Scott L. Robbins, the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com. I have the Ravings of a Madman, the Bunny Years, a memoir, and the Exit 13 books, and they're all available for digital download on Amazon.com. So check them out for the reader in your family. So yeah. Today's December 7th, day which will live in infamy, and respect to all those sailors and airmen, and Marines, civilians that died on that date, which will live in infamy, December 7th. So, all right. I also did that video last week, Grover Cleveland and Donald Trump. Apparently you liked it, 170 views last I saw, so thanks. Appreciate it. Tell your friends, like, share, and subscribe. I want to remind you that next week, the 14th, is the last show of the season, the year. And so on the 14th, I'm going to purge the mailbag. I'm going to go through the mailbag. All the emails that I get up until December 14th will count as 2022. I want to get all this out of the way for the year, so start with a fresh open inbox on the first of the year, okay? Because Patreon just spams the shit out of you. Anyway, I want to get rid of those messages, and so I want to get rid of all those mailbags next week. Get through all your letters as best I can, your emails. Sorry. So I'll do that all next week. So I just want to remind you, it's the last show of the year, and that's what I'm doing. I'll probably talk about some other stuff too, depending on how much I got to filter out, because some people don't really have much to say at all. Anyway, I kind of have good news. I have a distant rich uncle. His name was he recently passed. His name was Frederick Herbert Robbins was his name, and he apparently had a lot of money. And so I got contacted by this firm who was handling his estate, and in order to get my inheritance, they said, we need you to pay for this fee, for us to handle the case. And they said, go down to Walmart and buy $500 in Roblox cards, and then come back and call us and give us those numbers. And so I went and did that, and I did that, I did as they told me, and then sent me an email again and say, okay, now we've decided to take your case. Now, in order to get your inheritance, which is substantial, over like $700,000, they say you need us to send us the payment for our services. And so we want you to get $5,000 in cash, wrap it in tin foil, put it in a box, and ship it to Hyderabad, which is in India, I guess. And so I did that, and so maybe I'll get a nice windfall of cash soon. Or I've been scammed. And if you fall for any of that, please, I mean, it's sad that people fall for that kind of thing. And it happens all the time. I like to present it as a joke, but it is kind of serious. Anyway, so it's Christmas season. I'm feeling it. I'm getting stressed out. I got a little zit that popped up like right on my nose, and boy, are those irritating. Like a real sensitive area, like right on the edge of your nose. Oh, I'm getting stress pimples. It's awful. And you know what? You better be thankful if you get anything from me this Christmas, because I am stressed out. It's hard enough for me to shop for anybody. Now I got to shop for everybody within like 1 month. Oh. So if I come off a little angry, a little ranty, even a tinge sad, you can understand why. So in order to lower my heart rate, get a good rhythm before I work myself up into the later categories and into the news, I want to do a little movie review of a pretty nice movie I saw recently. Usually when I do a movie review, I do it justice and write it out. I'll pull up a plot synopsis so I can follow the film in order. Because if I do it from memory, I'll skip around in the movie. And so, but I saw this movie and I thought it was really good. And it's called I Kill Giants. It's a movie about this intelligent young girl who's into like reading and playing D&D, and she wants she's a dungeon master. She tells her brothers, I have a pretty good starter dungeon, and they're playing like Modern Warfare or something like that. And they're like, no thanks, nerd, And she uses her intelligence to keep people away from her. She uses it as a barrier, so she likes, she likes Dungeons and Dragons. I can identify with this character almost immediately, but she kills giants. That's the point of the movie, is that she kills giants. And so, she meets this young girl who's an immigrant from England. So she got an accent. It's like, I like the way you talk. And there's a little like, I like the way you talk kind of thing. And they kind of become friends. And she starts explaining to this newcomer, who is like supposed to be from your perspective, about all these giant traps that she's set up all around her town and stuff like that. And the details of how she fights giants, with her magical wards and stuff like that. And so, I think it's a really good movie. I think it takes a turn for the sad towards the end. And, but there's a point to the whole story in many ways that I want to talk about. And the point is that, your mind is the greatest playground that's ever been created on Earth. You can really have a lot of fun in the escapism of things like Dungeons and Dragons, or even Modern Warfare, even EverQuest, even World of Warcraft. These things, it's the mind is a fun place to play in. I get that, but it's not at the expense of the moment, of what's actually going on in the world. You can hide from your pain and your worries and stuff like that in your imagination, but you shouldn't all the time. You should be like everything in moderation, because there are real world things you got to deal with. And so I think that's kind of the message of the movie. And I think that's a really good message, is that it's not invaluable, like in Dungeons and Dragons or reading comic books, but you got to let people into your life. You can't use, your intelligence as a shield or a weapon, to keep people at bay who are trying to help you confront things that you need to confront. It's easier just to stay inside your little fantasy world and keep playing World of Warcraft than, ignore your wife who's about to divorce you. Widows of Warcraft, you know what I mean? And so, it's a good thing to understand that, especially if you watch that movie. It takes a turn for the sad. It's got a really nice baseball reference in it, and I like it. And it's so, but I think it was a really good movie, and I think it's worth mentioning to people to see, because I really enjoyed it, and I think it's 9 of 13 stars. Like I said, it takes a turn for the sad at the end, but I also think Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind is also a really good movie. So I don't know. I don't know, I like ones that make me almost cry sometimes. Anyway, here we go. So, I don't know if you've been paying attention to, like, I don't know, you probably don't read as much as I do. I read so much. But I've been reading and hearing a lot about what is called M.A.I.D in Canada, which is medical assistance in dying. Now, in doing research for this segment, I looked up medical assistance in dying into Google, just typed it up, and the first thing that comes up is help is available, or something like that, and big bold letters, help is available, dial 988, English or Spanish. So probably the entire Western Hemisphere can dial this number, this 3-digit number that's easy to remember, 988. And you can, talk to somebody, and they'll say something like, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. And so, I mean, seriously, that's what they do. And I'll be honest, people who are really interested in doing that, they're probably not even going to bother giving another human being a second chance. Right before I do it, I'm going to call this hotline, give them a chance to talk me off of it, And so, talk me out of it, So, I mean, it's, that's the first thing that pops up if you research this medical assistance in dying. And so society understands that, suicide should be prevented. We understand that, the first thing that pops up, and then underneath is like, help is available. Underneath that, you got the M.A.I.D law in Canada. People are dying. And the whole idea behind this medical assistance in dying is people who are terminal and stuff like that, and it's just going to be nothing but pain for 2 weeks or something like that and they're eventually going to expire. You kind of have an argument for a medical assistance in dying in that regard, but I think that that's wrong also. I think that man propels us and God dispels us. I think that doctors are frequently just another idiot walking this earth. I don't care how long they went to school with. And everywhere I walk on this earth, I see idiots. And, there's tons of people going to college. All right. So doctors are just another idiot. And so, great. EK left us so the lights went up. Hey, Google, turn on lights in Studio A. I may have to get up and get out the door. Google heard me. Okay, the PC's still running. Oh, man. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so, I mean, doctors are idiots. And so doctors, they can make mistakes, and they cannot accurately predict how long it is until you're going to die, nor can they predict how comfortable you'll be or how much pain you'll experience until you die. There's no real accuracy in that kind of quote-unquote science. So I don't think anybody should do it. But now this M.A.I.D, this medical assistance in dying, is also extending to people with disabilities. People who are depressed, or anyone who says, hey, because I mean, I'm on medication for depression, and if I lived in Canada and I was having a particularly bad week, I might take that option, especially when I was younger. When I was like 19, 20 years old, holy cow, if that option was available. Because I saw what was coming in my life. I knew what was coming. And I didn't want to face it. And giving that option to teenagers, because 19 years old is still a teenager. I was still a kid at that point. And the last thing a suicidal person needs is somebody telling them, yeah, you should go ahead and kill yourself. That's the last thing they need. And it just irritates me that any government would... I'd rather you ship a pound of marijuana to these people every day for the rest of their lives until they die. Enjoy the lung cancer. Why can't you just do that instead? And there's people who commit suicide without ever trying drugs. That baffles me. I mean, it's like one of the first things I thought of. I grew up Christian, straight edge. I'm never going to drink. I'm never going to take drugs and stuff like that. But I mean, as soon as I start feeling like, well, yeah, I'm kind of going to end it here any second, so I might as well try what's available. And most stuff I didn't like. And so, I mean, it's beer won out, you know. Beer's a solid, you know, beer's solid. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because, you know, it's not funny. It's sad because, you know, when you're, let's talk about disabilities. The disabilities, you know, if you're blind or deaf or something like that, I understand the world is frustrating. You know, if you're in a wheelchair, I understand you're frustrated. You know, your dick doesn't work. I get that. I really do. But I don't think that, you know, the solution is you to end it. Number one, it's like you have to feel like is some value in you that remains. And we know that. Humanity knows that. There is value that remains in a person who is in a wheelchair. They could make you laugh, you know. You could watch them play basketball. They could do amazing things in their wheelchair that you could never even do because you're not forced to be in one all the time. And so, I mean, you got to understand, it's like you're still a person. You know, even if you have disabilities, you're still a person. You know, you're blind, you're frustrated at the world. I get it. I really do. You feel like you're missing out on like 70%, I guess, of what this new technological era can provide for us. I get it. It can be frustrating, but you still matter. And so I think that, you know, when somebody says that it's okay to do this, it's bad for society. It's how societies collapse. You know, it's how governments collapse and everyone's just like, hey, suicide's okay. And then boom, everyone starts committing suicide. It reminds me of this quick animated scene that was in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. And it was a beautiful fall tree with all the colored leaves on it and stuff like that. And then one of the leaves goes, I can't take it anymore. It's all British accents, of course. I can't take it anymore. I can't handle it. Goodbye, cruel world. The leaf breaks off and drifts all the way down to the bottom, you know. And then this other leaf goes, darling, what have you done? Oh, darling, oh, I can't go on. Falls to the ground. Then the third leaf, mommy, no. And then all the leaves fall off the tree. It's a funny little skit that has a lot of meaning to it that Monty Python did. I think it was in The Meaning of Life. But the point of it is that, like, suicide can cause a chain reaction through a society. You know, because when you take your own life, that impacts far more people than yourself in multiples, you know, exponentially. Especially if a lot of people know you. And when I went through that phase in my life, when I wanted to end my life and failed at that, thank God, when I went through that, I found out how many people cared, who would have given a shit, whose lives may have been made sadder by the absence of me. That does not fill me with like, oh, I'm so great or anything, like a sense of ego. That makes me feel like a sense of responsibility to the people who truly care for me. And so it just irritates me if any government or any society or any TV show or anything that says like suicide's okay. Because it's not okay. And the last thing I needed to hear when I was suicidal was, yeah, go ahead and do it. Nobody will miss you. You don't matter enough to society for us to fight for you. I told you I was angry. I might have to clip that just because of the power outage. There's the lights going out. He's trying to be serious. Come on, Google. I can't believe it. I can't believe they heard me. The door's closed. Anyway, I'll try to bring some levity into it slowly. So I was thinking about Superman. If Superman existed, there would be people in Metropolis jumping off buildings just to meet Superman. Seriously, there'd be people going up to the top of the Star Labs building. Wait, not Star Labs. Star Labs probably have way too much security. They'd probably go up to the top of the Daily Planet building. Security's probably a little bit lax there. I mean, if nobody knows, you know, Superman's always coming and going from that building. So, I mean, they go to the top of the Daily Planet building, and Superman's like off, and you don't know. Superman's off at the Watchtower with the JLA fighting off, what's his name, Darkseid or something like that. You know, he's not even on this planet. So even Superman can't hear you. And so you're standing on the top of the Daily Planet and you're like, okay, I've had enough with this. Life has no meaning, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to do it. I hope Superman doesn't save me. And then you jump off the building. It's like, oh, I'm going to meet Superman. I'm going to get his autograph. I'm going to tell him to take me to my mom's house. He's going to meet my mom, you know? And like halfway down the Daily Planet building, you're probably thinking, oh, he's probably not coming. And then you start thinking other jail men. Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter. And you're getting closer and closer. Wonder Woman. Okay, I'm getting too close. Wonder Woman. Think of Wonder Woman. Go out on a good thought. Wonder Woman. And so, you know, and that would happen in Metropolis if Superman really existed. You know, you might even be falling and be like, okay, Superman's not coming. Spider-Man. Oh shit. He's not even in this universe. And you wasted a thought on Spider-Man. It's like, there's no possibility Spider-Man could save you. Just as there's no possibility Superman will save you. So, I mean, it's funny because, like, if something like Superman existed, it would be like that episode of Rick and Morty where the heads show up and they're like, show us what you got. And he goes, get swifty, you know. And it's this reality show where they destroy the planet if it fails at a reality show and they don't make good songs or something. But all these heads show up around Earth, and then this church called Headism gets birthed because people are idiots. And if Superman existed, there would be a church of Superman. You know what I'm saying? They would start treating Superman as a god because of his god-like power. And so there would be a church of Superman. And these Church of Superman people would be people who survived. Like, I jumped off a building and Superman was there that day. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of ridiculous, the whole concept, obviously, of Superman, because of the impact his presence would have on our world. And I was just talking about the kind of impacts even us normal people can have on the world. You know, it can be awesome. It's like, imagine being able to impact the world the way that Elon Musk is, you know. So, I mean, it's interesting to think about because, you know, Superman isn't real. But, I mean, there would be this church of Superman, and he may run into them in Metropolis from time to time because all these idiots keep jumping off of buildings and stuff, just wanting to meet him and just to be initiated into the club. That's what you got to do to get in. The Church of Superman. And so and eventually, you know, it might get to Superman's head, you know, it's like, you know what, I am a god. You know, these people worship me, and he starts treating them like his little minions and giving them plans. He's like, the Tyler Durden from Fight Club, giving him little like terrorist actions for him to fight against for easy press or something, you know. But then he starts gaining this attitude that he isn't a god, you know, and then starts treating everyone like his minions, you know, because he lives in this paper world that we all built, you know, that humanity built, and he could tear down with but thoughts and, you know, heat vision. And Superman becomes a dick. He becomes like he was in Superman 3 when he got hit with that fake kryptonite and got drunk. Flicking peanuts at people. Anyway. All right. There's a couple more things. Like I said, next week I'm going to do the mailbag, but there's these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I want to get off my chest before the end of the year. And so I'm going to go over them fairly briefly. So stop wearing masks. Stop it. Just stop. You notice it's the same people who are like so quick to put them on, the same people who are out there in their car by themselves with the windows up and their masks still on. It's those same people. You know, they never stopped. You know, if you want to join Cobra so bad, you know, you need to make Cobra because Cobra doesn't exist. And you got to imagine, you know, and so that creates an opportunity for you to be Cobra Commander. You know, you could be Cobra Commander. You just get that full helmet with the mirrored face shield. That'd be awesome. And then, you know, and Cobra Commander could even walk around in China. You know, because he's abiding by the rules. He's got the mask up and everything. So if you want to form Cobra, go ahead and form Cobra. Buy a bunch of houses in Springfield and have a ball. Go ahead. Just move out of my town. Because I'm sick of people wearing masks. I'm sick of you stupid ass people wearing masks. And what's sad is I know there's businesses and stuff like that still in this country who like don't allow people in with their masks. There's still mask Nazis out there. Stop. Enough with the masks. They don't do anything. Don't eat the bugs. For the love of God, don't eat the bugs. Don't eat the bugs. There's a lot of people pushing this. They're like, oh, this is good protein. Yeah, but there's also a chitin. You know what chitin is? It's nothing. It's hard for us to process. Chitin is hard for amphibians and other reptiles and other creatures who are supposed to be eating insects. It's hard for them to digest chitin. They've been doing it for millions of years. Do not eat the bugs. Number one, it's disgusting. Number two, it's going to mess up your gut, especially if you like coffee. It's just going to tear apart your intestines. Ugh. Jeez. Don't eat the bugs. Idiots. And stop doing those surveys. Stop doing the surveys on the internet, on Facebook and stuff like that, and sharing them. Like I care that much about you. The only one who cares that much about you are the advertisers and the governments that want to steal your personal information. And that your personal information is what they get from you in those surveys. Stop it. Stop it. Quit giving them everything they need. Speaking of which, delete TikTok. Delete TikTok. That's Chinese spyware, and we've known it from the very beginning. As soon as TikTok came out, I did a cursory search on it. Chinese spyware. Never downloading that app, I said to myself. Now there's people out there doing TikToks all the day long. All the day long. And as far as we know, China's mapping every single building in the United States with that software. If you think about it. So delete TikTok. What else do you, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. What else do you need? And I mean, even a lot of that is redundant. You know? Anyway. And the last thing I want to say is rap is poetry written by people who don't read. All right, we're going to get into the news. EK's not here to hit the button. I may have to end the show. It may be a short show. Maybe a short show. But like I said, I'm in a pissy mood. So you're getting what you're getting. Till I get more patrons whining about, oh, your show is shitty today. Sorry. Welcome to the news worth knowing. Rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. She recently died from colon cancer, I understand. Maybe she was eating the bugs. I'm kidding, of course. Too soon? All right. But Kirstie Alley, I was like, holy cow, those eyes. When she first hit on the scene, it was like, whoa. As soon as you saw those eyes, you're like, holy cow. Those are the eyes like every woman wants. You know, they were intense. They were really, really dark blue. And her brow shape and the shape of her eyebrows and it was just excellent eyes, like really covetous eyes, the eyes that every woman wants. And she had a great, mane of brunette hair, and who doesn't love that? And this is something that I really liked about it, that a lot of people were like, oh, that does nothing. I don't care about a girl's voice. And I'm just like, I thought she had a really sexy voice, which is like, that's big for me. If a girl has a sexy voice, I'm into that. But it's because I'm looking for a partner for my show. Jump on my show with me. I can get on Shock Monkey Radio just by dating the host. And I was like, yeah, kind of. Depends on your voice. And if you look like Kirstie Alley when she like in her 20s, whew, yeah, absolutely. So I hope she rests in peace. I mean, she had a lot of good comedy work. I thought she did. And some dramatic stuff. But have you ever seen Madhouse with John Larroquette and Kirstie Alley? It's hilarious. Because when you have like intense eyes like that, if you get angry, like getting angry is like even more scary. That's what's interesting, because that was her eyes. She was intense. So when she looked like when she was acting angry, it's like, ooh, you can really play it off when you have nice eyes. So rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. Anyway, Let's get into the real news. No offense. Okay, just checking to make sure I'm still alive. All right. Let's see. Herschel Walker concedes after bid of Georgia runoff. I'm not going to make any excuses. So Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock defeated Republican challenger Herschel Walker in Georgia's high-stakes Senate runoff election. Walker gave his concession speech Tuesday night after exit polls showed he would not be able to close the gap and overtake Warnock. The Republican candidate struck a positive tone throughout his speech, emphasizing his pride in the campaign and belief in the U.S. political system. Quote, I want to thank you all as well because we've had a tough journey, have we not? But one of the things I said when they called the race, I said the numbers doesn't look like they're going to add up. Walker told the crowd Tuesday night. He continued, but one of the things I want to tell you is never stop dreaming. I don't want any of you to stop dreaming. I don't want any of you to stop believing in America. I want you to believe in America and continue to believe in the Constitution and believe in our elected officials. Most of all, continue to pray for them. While the Senate majority has already been decided, Warnock's victory in the last ballot showdown of 2022 midterms elections give the Democrats a 51-49 margin in the chamber and a bit of breathing room for the razor-thin control of the Senate. So, I guess Kamala Harris doesn't she break ties in the House, or is that the Senate? I think that's the Senate. Anyway, government. Anyway, Walker expressed positivity in the face of defeat, telling Georgia crowd that his senatorial bid was the highlight of his already exceptional life story. Really? I told someone this the other day. He said, I've done a lot of stuff. You talk about Heisman trophies, you talk about athletic awards, business awards I've won, but the best thing I've ever done in my whole life is, my entire life is run for the Senate seat right here. Republican candidate, hand-selected by former President Trump, stated that there are no outside factors to blame. And as I say, you can't blame no one because I want you to continue to believe in this country and believe in our elected officials and most of all stay together, he said. Walker's urging to believe the electoral process contrasts sharply with rhetoric from the former president, who has blamed outside tampering for a slew of poor outcomes in recent elections. I think that's relevant to put in this. Yeah, it's very different. He's not out there calling it like foul or anything like that. This year's runoff was necessitated after Warnock led Walker by roughly 37,000 votes out of nearly 4 million cast in November's general election. However, since neither candidate topped 50% of the vote required by Georgia law to secure victory, the race headed to a runoff. I spit on that. Spit while I was talking. Here's the thing about like Herschel Walker is like he is not celebrities running for office like Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker. I think there's very few people who could pull it off. And to be honest, I was shocked that Donald Trump pulled it off. And I think, any like, especially at the state level, you see somebody like Herschel Walker, coming to Georgia and you're like, he's kind of an outsider, isn't he? He's, when you're playing football and stuff like that, you're kind of like a nomad, you're traveling city to city and stuff like that, playing different places and all that. And so, it's, in many ways, you feel like an outsider, just like with Dr. Oz, it's like he's an outsider. He's like a Hollywood guy. He's a New York guy. It seems like, it's just some rich guy coming to our state and try to like, oh, this is going to be easy to take the Senate, in Georgia, So, it's, I don't know. I think that there's a real aspect to this when it comes to this election. It's like Herschel Walker's kind of an outsider trying to butt in and, and so I think that does matter to the electorate, even if you think that, it's like Herschel Walker's conservative. And so obviously the better choice there. I bet there was a bunch of, conservatives in Georgia who said, I can't vote for Herschel Walker because he's not one of us. And it has nothing to do with, his race or anything like that. It has to do with the fact that he's not necessarily a Georgian. He doesn't talk like us down here in Georgia. And that does matter. That does matter in elections. So, sorry to Herschel Walker. A Heisman Trophy, I'd be more proud of that if you ask me than losing an election. Anyway, even if he won, it would have been just 50-50. And there's plenty of rhinos, in the Senate. So it's technically, it was going to be, a Democratic majority anyway. So what can you do? All right. Let's go to the next story. So California School District launches review after Fox News Digital exposes pornographic BDSM material. Exclusive from Fox News Digital. A California district with over 40,000 students launched a review of books teachers bring into the classroom libraries throughout dozens of schools following Fox News Digital reporting on a high school teacher introducing books with BDSM, kink, and kink material. Fox News Digital reported in September that the English teacher at San Juan Hills High, previously identified on the school's website as Danielle Serio and known as Flint, had a series of pornographic and sexually explicit books in her classroom queer library. Queer library. It's kind of a tongue twister. The Capistrano Unified School District told Fox News Digital on Monday that they had launched a review of books in teachers' classroom library in October. The email asked that teachers throughout the district's 59 schools immediately remove any books that violated district policy. Capistrano, isn't that an island? Capistrano. I think it's an island, or is it a beach? Why am I not getting a map? Show me a map. Maps. I think it's an island, isn't it? Nope. It's a beach. It's an area, like a Mission San Juan Capistrano. I'm wrong. I guess it's an area of like near LA. I don't care. Never been there. Anyway, quote, with these criteria in mind, if you find books that do not meet a certain criteria for BP 6163.1, please make them unavailable to students. If you are unsure, we encourage you to work with your colleagues in your department and grade level teams and reach out to your site administration to make that determination, email said. A spokesperson for the district added that we will be bringing our library policy to the board for discussion and revisions in January. In a video posted on November 21st, Flint discussed the outrage surrounding the queer classroom library. The teacher explained that books help students figure out who they are. Quote, people get really mad about my queer library. I have like I got to get the speech pattern down, so forgive me for the voice. People get really mad about my queer library. I have like 200 titles that are specific to the LGBT community that I've been curating for over 8 years. Don't get me wrong, my students love that library. It's been very helpful for my students figuring out who they are, how to relate to their peers, a teacher said. A book previously in the classroom library, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Being Trans. Is it blank? And it discusses BDSM, fetishes, and kink. Social media networking site says. Oh, my Lord. Quote, I find the BDSM kink community to be extremely open-minded and welcoming in every way. It's a place of sexual liberation, the book stated. There is often more blanket level of acceptance of transgender people within the kink BDSM, bondage, discipline, dominance, and submission, sadism, and masochism, scenes such as FetLife. FetLife is a social media networking site for the kink community. Lord Almighty. Another book previously in the library called This Book is Gay discussed the casual hookup site Grindr and included detailed information on how to give anal and girl-on-girl sex. Lord, I want to stop reading this. Like four more paragraphs. I'm giving up on it. Sorry. It's a shame because this girl's kind of cute. I mean, she would be cute if she weren't freaking crazy and possible kid diddler. Oh, God. Yeah. A to Z of gender and sexuality. Gee, for kids, when a kid sees their parent kissing, they're just, ew. Why would you do that? Kids have no interest in this stuff. And when you want to discuss it with them, it has more to do with you, like how perverted you are. It's like, this is what I do at home, so I need to bring it in my classroom because I wish I could do this all day. If there was any smart kids in that class, it's like, well, teach, can we tie you up? You tie her up, tie her to a chair, and then off you go. You go to the playground, where you should be. You shouldn't be in a room surrounded by books about how to be gay. Where it's like check out Grindr, It's just so twisted and perverted what these people are doing. Anyway, let's get to something a little closer to home. I don't know if you heard about this, but we're going to the Fredericksburg.com, the Freelance Stars, our local paper's webpage, about Gourmeltz restaurant raided for selling alcohol without a license. So the Virginia Alcohol and Beverage Control raided a Spotsylvania County restaurant Friday morning to execute a search warrant alleging the business has been selling alcohol without a license. The owner of Gourmeltz, Matt Strickland, maybe you've heard that name if you live in the area, has battled the state since 2020, claiming the COVID rules implemented by the state during the pandemic were unconstitutional. He refused to comply with mask, social distancing, and other mandates ordered by then Governor Ralph Northam by continuing to operate the restaurant even with his food and alcohol licenses suspended by the state. In January 2021, the Virginia Department of Health suspended Gourmeltz's health permit. The restaurant stayed open while the case meandered through the court system. The health department eventually dropped its case, but the Virginia Alcohol and Beverage Control continued with its case. The department served a court order November 14th, suspending the restaurant's license for 90 days following a court ruling affirming the restaurant violated the state's COVID-19 emergency restrictions at the height of the pandemic. Strickland, who is campaigning for the area's 27th District State Senate seat, said at the time that he would continue to sell alcohol at the restaurant. The 39-year-old U.S. Army veteran also said at the time that he was willing to go to jail. In a Friday statement, the Virginia ABC said it was executing the search warrant for records and information related to the possession of alcoholic beverages without a license, maintaining a common nuisance, and the illegal sale of alcoholic beverages. Because, quote, the establishment failed to comply with the ABC's board order and continued to serve beer, wine, and mixed beverages to customers. In a video live streamed on his Facebook campaign, on his campaign Facebook page Friday, Strickland approached the Virginia State Police troopers executing a search warrant in his restaurant while as alcohol was being removed. Excuse me. He asked them what they were doing and chastised them for supporting government overreach, and that he said they violated his rights. The police at the scene told Strickland that they were there to confiscate alcohol and records related to the sales of alcohol based upon the search warrant. He asked the officers how they felt about what they were doing. Several said that they were doing their job. Quote, just doing your job? That's what they said in Germany too, man. They were just doing their job, he said. You're part of the problem, Strickland continued as he panned the video showing several officers. Strickland narrated the scene by decrying the COVID mandates. Quote, it set small businesses back so many years, he said in the video. It destroyed small businesses, it destroyed families, it destroyed our community, it destroyed our country. And nobody in here gives a damn about that. They're just doing their job. One officer eventually said Strickland needed to stop and warned him not to cross beyond a certain point or he would be arrested for obstructing the search warrant execution. Another officer then asked the restaurant owner if he would help them access his computer records on alcohol sales. Quote, what do you need to see it for? I'm telling you I'm selling alcohol. That's all the proof you need, Strickland said. Seriously. Strickland said before asking his wife for help to get the officers the records. So he doesn't know how to do it either. It isn't clear what punishment Strickland could face according to state code. Selling alcohol without a license is a Class 1 misdemeanor, which carries a penalty of up to 1 year in jail or a $2,500 fine. So what's interesting is he's running for state senate, as you know, as a conservative. And guess who just won in Virginia? Guess who still has the power in Virginia? So here's the thing, it's like we're going to have to face this for a little while longer. We're going to have to face all of this nonsense for a little while longer. At least 2 more years. Because, I don't know, it's getting out of hand. I mean, it's persecution is what it is. It's persecution of conservatives, and it all kind of really reared its ugly head, I think, after January 6th, because there's people still in prison for that, still haven't seen trial. You know what I mean? Which is illegal. It's illegal. And so, law enforcement isn't standing up for the rights of the citizens. And, that's what has to happen. If some DA comes to the police and says, I need you to do something that's unconstitutional, I need the cop to have the backbone to say, no, that's unconstitutional. If some politician comes to you and says, you need to go, this guy's selling alcohol, go, get that alcohol. Someone from the ABC says it. The cops have to have the backbone to say, no, I'm not doing something unconstitutional. And Matt Strickland is right. He's right. And it's like this COVID thing, this lockdowns and stuff like that, it was designed to destroy small businesses. And all he was trying to do was keep open over some nonsense plague that, the media was pushing for a couple of years. And it was a nonsense plague. Yeah, people died, but people die every year from the flu too. The regular flu. Sometimes there's bad seasons. It's been like that throughout human history. Can't stop what's coming. Holy cow. Anyway, so, Matt Strickland earned my vote. See, they don't get that that's what they're doing, Never even been to Gourmeltz. Anyway. Let's go to the next story. North Carolina power outage. Federal memo flags Washington, Oregon substation attack similar to Moore County. Federal memo warned substations in Washington and Oregon recently suffered physical attacks similar to the targeted gunfire toward the power grid over the weekend in Moore County, North Carolina, where tens of thousands still remain without electricity on Wednesday. News Nation obtained a federal law enforcement memo warning the power stations in Oregon and Washington have reportedly physical attacks on substations using hand tools, arson, firearms, and metal chains, probably in response to an online call for attacks on critical infrastructure. The memo said the aim is to cause widespread power failures with potential impact on social disruption with violent anti-government criminal activity. In recent attacks, criminal actors bypassed security fences by cutting the fence links, lighting nearby fires, and shooting equipment from a distance or throwing objects over a fence and onto the equipment. See, that's why there's kind of like a vandalism aspect to it in many ways. Throwing objects over a fence, that doesn't seem very serious, All right. On November 11th, sheriff deputies in Jones County, North Carolina, reported that criminal vandalism caused 12,000 people to lose power for days, and that investigation remains ongoing. No suspects have been identified or arrested in that case. Oh. I'll finish the story and then I'll discuss what I was thinking. As of Tuesday, an estimated 35,000 customers remained without power, but Duke Energy officials said the final customers were expected to be back online before midnight on Wednesday, tonight, and moved up from the original estimate of Thursday. The power company said gunfire caused significant damage to equipment, which needs to be replaced. The new equipment has arrived, and crews are calibrating and testing to synchronize with the power grid. Power will come back on in waves for a few thousand customers restored at a time. At the peak of the outages Saturday into Sunday, some 45,000 customers were without power. Moore County schools will be closed Wednesday and Thursday. One resident has since been found dead in their home in Moore County, but the death is not immediately linked to the outages. Why bring it up? Authorities have yet to confirm the motive or name of any suspects or arrests in connection to the targeted shootings of the two substations in Moore County on Saturday night, and the FBI is assisting in the investigation. Yeah, great. Fox News Digital also confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas was briefed on the outages in Moore County. Excuse me. In February, the Justice Department secured guilty pleas from the three men accused of plotting to shoot substations or power grids with powerful rifles across the country. The FBI said the defendants were white supremacists and expected the damage would cost the government millions of dollars, lead to power being out for months to evoke civil unrest, potentially a race war, prompting the next Great Depression. The FBI said that the defendants were white supremacists, expected the damage would cost millions of government dollars, lead to the power be out for months, and evoke civil unrest and potentially a race war, prompting the next Great Depression. Really? It was all that in the bullet holes at the substation? Did you figure all that out? You tell the person's race, they fired the gun? Through ballistics? The FBI. Anyway. There are Christopher Brennan Cook, 20 of Columbus, Ohio, Jonathan Allen Frost, 24 of West Lafayette, Indiana, and of Katy, Texas, and Jackson Matthew Sawal, 22 of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They each pleaded guilty in one count of conspiring to provide material support to terrorists. Federal law enforcement have sounded the alarm on domestic terror threats to critical infrastructure for years. In a new threat bulletin released last week, the Department of Homeland Security warned targets of potential violence include public gatherings, faith-based institutions, the LGBTQI+ community, schools, racial and religious minorities, government facilities and personnel, U.S. critical infrastructure, the media, and perceived ideological opponents. Thousands of service members and their families at Fort Bragg have been impacted by the Moore County outages, and base leadership is ensuring service members have flexibility in their schedules. Yeah. So, it could be like terrorists trying to probe the infrastructure, assessing, response time and stuff like that, and impact. It could be that. It could be vandals. And the thought I had when I was reading that article was that, Antifa's been kind of quiet lately. Kind of quiet. So, maybe they're moving on to trying to attack infrastructure, because throwing a rock over a fence trying to damage infrastructure sounds like something Antifa is smart enough to do. Seems like right about their intellectual level. I can't get through the fence. Did you bring a tool? Well, what's a tool? Throw the rock at it. Into the fence. And no, you got to throw it over the fence. Oh. So there's a sense of vandalism or stupidity involved in this. But gunshots, that seems pretty, in fires, that seems pretty targeted and sophisticated attacks. Anyway. Hopefully the FBI is just not too busy looking for white supremacists, because that's everything. Everything that goes wrong is clearly racist. Who did it? Racist. I'm probably right. Who did it? Racists. Friggin' FBI. Anyway, I got two more stories, trying to ramp it up to a little bit happier before we get out of this for the week. So, Sister of Iran Supreme Leader condemns his rule, calls on Revolutionary Guards to lay down their weapons. The Sister of Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, reportedly has written a letter condemning her brother's, quote, despotic caliphate, while also calling on the Revolutionary Guards to lay down their weapons. The comments from Badri Hosseini Khomeini, who lives in Iran, were shared by her France-based son on Twitter, according to Reuters. The comments come as the Middle Eastern country continues to be roiled by protests following the September death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini while in police custody. Quote, I think it is appropriate now that I declare that I oppose my brother's actions, and I express my sympathy with all mothers mourning the crimes of the Islamic Republic. From the time of Khomeini to the current era of despotic caliphate of Ali Khomeini, Badri Hosseini Khomeini said in the letter, referencing Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the founder of the Iranian regime. Ali Khomeini's Revolutionary Guards and mercenaries should lay down their weapons as soon as possible and join the people before it's too late, the letter asked. Holy cow, it's a threat. Iran has been rocked by unrest since September 16th death of Amini, who passed away in police custody after being arrested for not wearing a head covering in public. The country's leaders are also grappling with a 3-day general strike movement that started Monday. In posts circulating on social media, demonstrators asked businesses to close and called on people to stop using banks. The level of participation is unclear, but in neighborhoods in northern Tehran, most shops were closed Tuesday afternoon, and there were heavy security presence, according to the Associated Press. On Monday, Iran's judiciary chief, Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejdi, ordered the arrest of anyone encouraging the strike or trying to intimidate shops into shutting down. According to Tansim, authorities in the southern city of Shiraz shut down a pharmacy after it reportedly refused to sell items to patients on Monday. The unrest that followed Amini's death became one of the largest challenges to the Iranian regimes in decades, spreading across the country and showing few signs of slowing down despite attempts by police to crack down on demonstrations. You know, it's kind of interesting because people in their 50s and 60s in Iran right now, they remember the liberal Iran back in the 70s. They remember how it was. And they're probably telling their kids now, and the kids are like, that sounds way better. Can't we do that? And especially, and it kind of all comes to a head when this woman, she's a rock climber, I guess. And she, their last minute call up, and she couldn't find her hijab, so she went and did the event with her hair out, which must be covered at all times because men can't control themselves when they see women's hair for some reason. That's the only thing I understand, about it. It doesn't make sense at all. But she died in the custody of these Revolutionary Guards, and it matters, It matters. These theocratic assholes in Iran, they're like, they treat women as like cattle, To the men who are running that country, they really don't give a crap about women, And so, I mean, it's interesting that the sister of Ayatollah Khomeini is doing this because, boy, she's really putting her life on the line. They're going to if they make an example of her, it may. Do you think it could probably stop this revolution cold? And I want Iran to be more liberalized. I want them to be, remove that stick from their ass, and that stick in their ass is this, is Sharia law, because it's ridiculous. Why didn't you go through the Enlightenment? You need an Enlightenment phase, and Enlightenment begins with liberalization, so that any artist. Maybe there's some woman in a hijab there in Iran that's going to be the next Michelangelo. You don't know. You don't know, do you? Anyway, let's get into this last story. And I know there's a lot of people who do like Am I the Asshole content and stuff like that. And I don't like doing it because I hate Reddit and I hate stories about Reddit. And I think Reddit should die. But I do think that this story is hilarious because there's a reason why the Am I the Asshole Reddit is popular. It's because, there's lots of assholes on this earth. And sometimes you're not sure if you're being the asshole. So, anyway, this is a concert chaos. Wedding groom bullies, quote unquote, bullies teenage cousin for her Taylor Swift ticket. Listen to this. A teenager has taken to Reddit to ask if she was wrong for not giving her Taylor Swift ticket to her cousin-in-law's new bride at their wedding. The Redditor, who shared that she is a 17-year-old female, posted in Am I the Asshole AITA subreddit on December 4th that she waited over 5 hours to get a ticket for Taylor Swift's New Eras tour from Ticketmaster. Quote, I've loved Taylor since I was 2 years old, she shared in a post titled, Am I the Asshole for refusing to give my cousin-in-law my Taylor Swift ticket? The Redditor shared that her cousin, John, who is 29, pulled her aside at his wedding after hearing her tell another family member that she had scored a Taylor Swift ticket. He apparently asked if there was any chance she would be willing to give her ticket to his new bride, Jane, age 27, who hasn't been successful in getting a ticket herself. Quote, I said I had waited a long time to get my ticket and I didn't want to give it up because, as he knows, I love Taylor Swift and I'm really excited about going to the concert with my friends, said the Redditor. John apparently seemed disappointed, she said, but ultimately walked away. John and Jane were soon having their first dance, which was to Taylor Swift's song Lover, the Redditor shared. At the end of the song, John got the microphone and told everyone at the wedding that I had so kindly decided to give Jane my Taylor Swift ticket as a wedding gift, she added. Ooh. Jane started crying and said I was the best cousin ever and that I made her wedding day 10 times better. Really, lady? Really? I stood there in shock and then I asked if I could speak to her in private, but she brushed me off. I tried to talk to John too, but he ignored me, she said. The Redditor said her whole family came up to her afterwards telling her how mature she was for giving up her Taylor Swift ticket. Oh, my Lord. Quote, I told them that I never said I'd give her my ticket, and I was planning on keeping it and going with my friends as I had originally planned, the Redditor said. Soon, word got back to John and Jane, who also wrote online that Jane actually started sobbing and saying that I was selfish for not giving her my ticket. These people are awful. Jane also said that since I didn't get her a wedding gift, at least I could do is give her my ticket, the Redditor said. The Redditor stood her ground and told the bride I did not owe her anything, and she continued. John then said it was only fair that she give up her ticket. Boy, they won't give up on it. She has seen Taylor Swift before while the new bride has not. Oh, Lord almighty. Every angle they can. Quote, I said that I understand that it's really frustrating to wait in the queue only to not get tickets, but it wasn't my job to make sure that Jane did, said the poster. She told them that if they were patient, the scalper prices might go down by the show date, and she might be able to snag tickets then. She continued. Great response. John screamed at her to leave the wedding. This all happened at the wedding? Oh, my Lord. John screamed at her to leave the wedding, she said, also telling her that she had ruined the special occasion. Some family members contacted her later and said they didn't agree with her for not relinquishing her tickets and called her a name, she said. Others said she would have waited until after the wedding to tell Jane the ticket wasn't hers. Others said that she should have waited until after the wedding. Okay. That's a decent point. Others, including my parents, agreed that I had no obligation to give up my ticket, she said. I hate conflict, though, and as part of this, and part of me wonders whether I should have just let her have the ticket. Ugh, that's exactly what they wanted you to do. She ended the post with, so am I the asshole? No. The Reddit AITA community was quick to tell this woman that she was not the party at fault in this distressing situation. On the AITA subreddit, Redditors can reply to posts. That poster is NTA, not the asshole, or you're the asshole, you YTA. No asshole here, NAH, or ESH, everyone he sucks here. Users can upvote responses they think are helpful. Yeah, Reddit. Okay. User Corgwin said, NTA, not the asshole. John here is trying to pull a fast one and thought he could bully you into giving up your ticket. Yes, exactly what happened. This individual continued, good for you for standing fast. He picked the venue to announce. Exactly. You handled it the correct way. I don't blame you for that. He ruined his own wedding. Correct. Response got 10.1K upvotes. Another user who goes by the online Part Animal commented, I bet Jane was in on it too. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yet another commenter wrote, I honestly don't know what's worse, scheming together against a 17-year-old or finding out on your wedding day that your husband is a liar and a scam artist. That's great. One Boston area 24-year-old who has tickets of Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour said that taking something precious from someone publicly is shameful and manipulative. Yes, it is. She added, this is just awful. If you love Taylor Swift, you love Taylor Swift, you know. Anyway, useless. So I also said she also said to use a happy occasion where you have the power as the groom to bully a younger cousin is just unacceptable. She should be mad at him and not vice versa. Correct. As I understand it, these Taylor Swift tickets have been a thing. People trying to get it. It's like people that really that desperate to go to see Taylor Swift. It's not that great. I don't know if you heard music before like 1997. Some really great stuff. Everything since has been just awful. But you know, what kind of asshole, you know, try to bully an underage cousin into giving up their it's our wedding, we should have our way. And that's why I think, yeah, the bride was behind it as well. She was part of that as well. And they're awful people. Hopefully you have a better family than that. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. I think it's over here. The screen kind of went off. It's timed out or whatever. Screensaver thing. Should be over here. Patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I appreciate it. Over here somewhere you have my, what are they called? Social media. At Denounces on Twitter. At Denounces on Twitter, which is the word Wasteland spelled backwards. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. And at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. You can follow me there. I also have a Cash App. Use the hashtag ShockMonkeyRadio, all one word, if you want to send me money that way. I'd appreciate that as well. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com. I got The Bunny Years, a memoir. I got The Ravings of a Madman, and I got the 3 Exit 13 books. So check those out for the reader in your family and make a nice gift. Hey, a couple of creepy short stories. This guitar kills people, man. This guitar kills people, man. Anyway, you should check it out. So this is the end of the show. I'm the Madman, and I love you.